What developers to follow on Twitter? These are the people that I personally follow and interact with because they share some really cool posts and they help me stay motivated and inspired to learn more and do more. If I was starting out as a developer and I wasn't sure where to go, maybe I'm even trying to figure out whether I should learn HTML, CSS or JavaScript or which technology or framework I should get started on, these guys will share some really inspiring stories. They've got inspiration on the kind of journey they personally went through to get to where they are. They give you great information about starting out, so that it doesn't matter which field you're in, whether you're a doctor or a chef or anything in between. You can become a developer, and these guys will help you learn how. The very first person on this list is Flavio Copes, and he is an Italian developer which does full stack and specializes in a number of things, but he has great content on JavaScript and does daily blogs and posts. And something you might not know about is his blog system is actually one of the most popular on the web. It has millions of views with almost daily articles, and he's done a whole series on how he created a blog so that if you guys are interested in making your own, you'll be able to do that. His blogs go through a number of things and has recently started up a YouTube channel as well where he describes more in person how he started and developed some of these things. So if you want to check out his Twitter handler, it's just Flavio Copes, which is just over here, and I'll link this also in the description below. The next developer I wanted to talk about is Catalin Pit, and he's a great front-end developer that just recently got started. Yet, even though he's only been on, say, Twitter for half a year, he's grown a lot. And this is because he has some great inspirational and motivational ideas and concepts that he carries across as part of his journey in development. So if you're starting out in development and you want to see something great and motivating every day, follow his Twitter and he'll have some great content for you. He also has a blog here where he talks more about how you can get started in development, and it's worth checking out. So his Twitter handler is Catalin Pit, and I'll also link this in the description of this video. If you haven't heard of Florin Pop, he's a developer that's now set up a great YouTube channel as well as a great Twitter following, where he posts regularly day to day on how to get started in coding as well. He has great videos on things like how to complete the whole freeCodeCamp session, where he takes you through the journey of him learning and applying all his skills in development, so you can follow along with that. He also does great live streams where he interacts with the community so that if you're looking to learn how to get started in development, you'll be able to interact with him directly. If you want to check out his Twitter handler, it's Florin Pop 1705. And this is his YouTube channel here as well, where he's got great content on all sorts of stuff. He also finished up a JavaScript array series, where he goes through every single type of method available and how to use them, which is really cool. Thompson is someone I recently started following, but he's got some amazing content around his journey in starting development. He gives you an idea of the ability that anyone can start development, doesn't matter which career you're in, and he tells you about his own journey, and now he actually does quite a lot, including organizing meetups and doing all sorts of stuff in software development. So he's definitely someone I would recommend following. His Twitter handler is dthompsondev, and you can follow him. He'll also be in the description below. Another developer which I really like is Marc Backes, and he's a full stack developer which specializes in Node.js and Vue.js, and he's got some great content around that. If you take a look, he's got a blog over here at marc.dev, and over here he's got a lot of content around Vue as well, if you want to get started in that sort of stuff. But otherwise, he has great posts here on development in general, and I've even done and drawn a profile picture for him here on my iPad, so definitely check him out. He's really cool. His handler is just _MarcBA, and like all the others, I'll link it in the description below. If you haven't heard of Chris before, he's a developer which specializes in JavaScript as well as all sorts of other technologies, and he combines these in really interesting ways. If you check out his profile here, he's done some stuff on electronics, which is really cool, as well as different stuff like building things that integrate with Twitter, like being able to find developers close to your area. He also has a great blog here on chris.io where you can see some of the things that he's built, which is really cool. His Twitter handler is sudo_overflow, and I definitely would recommend having a look at his because he always has some really cool and interesting posts to check out. Francesco is another great person to follow on Twitter, and he specializes in things like JavaScript and Docker, but he's a full stack developer and he works on some amazing things like working with satellite technology that NASA launched worth millions of dollars and pulling in APIs and learning and understanding how that works. If you haven't seen his profile before, check him out because he has some really great content and he's a great person in general. So if you're trying to figure out the journey that he's gone through and want to get some tips and ideas on how to get started, he'll have you covered as well. Kyle is another great person to follow on Twitter, and he's got a lot of content around design and development with a great focus on freelancing. He's got a lot of posts here about how to get started in freelancing and what you can do to stay in that area and get work. But what's really cool is he actually has things like his freelancing podcast and even a website on how to get started in freelancing yourself, if that's something that you're interested in. So it's definitely worth checking him out because he usually posts on great ways to get started yourself in that sort of a field. Niall is another great developer, and he's a JavaScript developer from Ireland. He actually just recently started up a YouTube channel as well, and he posts up regularly really good and positive messages on how to get started in HTML, CSS and JavaScript, as well as teach you how to do some really cool stuff in there. So I would definitely recommend following him as well. Jesse, commonly known as CodeStacker, is another person I follow a lot on Twitter, and he's got some really cool content around designing and developing, and I actually love the posts he puts out because they're talking about how to get started on your journey as a developer and that anyone can in general. He also has a great channel on YouTube that is quite large actually. It's got up to 50,000 subscribers, and that's really cool. And he's regularly posting all sorts of stuff on how to get started in development and what you can use and how to essentially use it. So definitely check him out. I would recommend giving him a follow, and his Twitter handler is just CodeStacker in Twitter. Cathmar actually just started up Twitter recently, but he's got some really great content around the journey of development itself. He's built up a YouTube channel called Developer Habits, and his handler is also Developer Habits. And he posts up great content around designing and developing and that journey where we all go through tough situations in our life when we go through our careers. He's even posted up some interviews with developers and talks about his own journey. So he's a person I also like to be able to follow on Twitter. Emma Bostian is another person I follow on Twitter because she's got some very relatable content around development and things that we all experience. She's actually grown her Twitter following to over 100,000 people in about just a year or so. And she's been able to do this and do podcasting as well as work at, I think it is Log Me In, but she'll be joining Spotify soon as a software engineer. And she's definitely someone I would recommend following on Twitter. Her Twitter handler is just Emma Bostian, so check that out as well. Telmo is another developer that I've recently started following on Twitter, and he's got some very relatable and personal content that he shares out. He's got his own blog here, and he posts articles like "No, You Don't Suck," which essentially are telling you that it takes a while to learn things and not everyone knows everything. He also has great tutorials here on things on like how to do dark mode in React, and he posts regularly on just things that we can all understand, so I would recommend following him. His handler is just Telmo on Twitter. Ben Awad is another person I really enjoy following on Twitter, and he actually has his own YouTube channel, which is really good, up to almost 90,000 subscribers. And he has also built his own startup, which is called the Saffron Cooking app, which gives you recipes on how to build different stuff, or cook different stuff anyway. And what I really like about his Twitter is that he posts up content which I can really relate to as a developer. Sometimes it's funny, sometimes it's something new that I didn't know, but it's one of those accounts that always has something interesting to say, so it's another person I would really recommend following if you like development in general. I hope you guys enjoyed this video on the sorts of people that I follow on Twitter. If you don't know who I am, I'm Adrian from Australia, and I do videos around design and development, so if you haven't already, hit like and subscribe and maybe follow me as well. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next one. Thank you.